Thank you. Good morning. ISU and President Dietz writes on the website devoted to bargaining updates, quote, ISU has and will continue to work diligently to reach a fair and fiscally responsible contract agreement that addresses the concerns raised by the SEIU without disruption to the teaching and learning environment, unquote. As I'm sure you're noticing, this is a cryptic, inert message that is intended to reassure, but communicates nothing at all. We in the union believe in transparency, unlike the administration. It's very convenient for them to say, quote, they want to bargain at the bargaining table, as they've said all the time to the media, because it allows them to never actually deal with what happens at the bargaining and mediation table. We believe that if there's a disruption to the learning and teaching environment, you all have a right to know how that disruption came to be. Unfortunately, if you were to listen to President Dietz, you will have no idea about how mediation is going. And that's the point. Why does President Dietz refuse to call us by our name? Why is it always SEIU and not the Graduate Workers Union? He wants you to think that we are ruled by outside forces, that this union was not bred out of the poverty conditions that enrich his university, that it isn't the self-activity of graduate teaching assistants which drives the Illinois State University Graduate Workers Union. It's those nasty SEIU outsiders. This refusal to recognize us is also critical to the lack of recognition at the bargaining table. It's why they only offer us raises that affect a sliver of our 400-person bargaining unit. They don't respect us, and so it continues into President Dietz's refusal to call us by our name, the Illinois State University Graduate Workers Union. He wants you to think of us as puppeted by some external organization, not bred and grown here at ISU out of the poisoned soil of working conditions that allow President Dietz and the Board of Trustees to run a university built on exploitation and oppression. As a small example, take a first-year English PhD student teaching 4 sections over their 9-month contract. As the instructor of record for that class, that TA will produce over $106,000 in revenue. And in exchange, they will receive $15,740 in wages. That is over $90,000 in surplus value across the year. While TAs go into student loan and credit card debt to pay for housing, food, medical care, everyday survival. And amid this major crisis, ISU wants to build the School of Engineering. They'd like us to believe the rising tide of School of Engineering will raise the boats of ISU at large and solve many problems. But in reality, whatever good the School of Engineering does will, as always, serve the Board of Trustees and President Dietz. Grad workers, undergraduates, non-tenure track faculty, tenure track faculty, clerical staff, buildings and trades workers will all be sacrificed for the good of the people at the top. We will continue to struggle to paddle, and some of us will not survive in the wake of ignorance created by the School of Engineering. The rising tide that will truly lift all boats is the rising tide of solidarity from all workers at ISU coming together to fight for and with one another against an administration that exploits us at every turn. At the Academic Senate on Wednesday, Professor of Education Dr. Stacy Otto asked very clearly, how can ISU take on such a massive financial outlay given our existing problems? Provost Tarhuli spent about 10 minutes answering, but of course there was no real answer. The duration masks the fact that they do not care about solving ISU's existing problems because they do not see them as problems. Later in the section on the pandemic budget, Provost Tarhuli clarified this even further when Dr. Otto asked him about the possibility of surprise surpluses. Provost Tarhuli naturally did not want to talk about that and pushed the conversation away by saying, if there are any surpluses, they should be kept for a time when we need them. That time is now. We have graduate students who made a food pantry for graduate students to deal with the rampant poverty created by working and studying at ISU.
Mr. Lazaroff, just a minute warning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ISU has no business building an engineering school when campus is littered with existing problems. But ISU does not see these as problems because these problems, these sufferings in the everyday life of workers, ISU does not see the poverty it creates as a problem because the poverty of our bargaining unit, the insecurity of workers around campus is how ISU thrives. Poverty is not a problem ISU wants to solve. Our poverty is their success, and they do better the more impoverished we are. So please, join our fight. Supporting TAs is a moral issue that deserves your commitment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.